Hey guys, welcome to Dork Forge. My name's Paul and this is our Fizban's Treasury of Dragons series. Do you want more D&D and Fizban's content? Then hit that notification button and the subscribe button. Every subscriber helps to build and support our channel, and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of you. Now though, it's time to put on a fresh pair of socks as we take a look at Draconic Feats and how to make better intro puns. So Fizban's comes with 3 different feats based off each of the main types of dragons. So you can have Chromatic, Metallic, and now Gem. And each one has a bit of a theme revolving around that type of dragon. Starting off with the gift of the Chromatic Dragon. So they'll all start with this same basic fluff that you've manifested some of the power, and each feat is going to give you 2 benefits at least. So with the Chromatic, you are going to get this Chromatic Infusion ability. As a bonus action, you can infuse a simple or martial weapon with one of the following damage types, and that is Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Poison, the normal elemental types. And for the next minute, that weapon deals an extra 1d4 of that damage type when it hits. You can use this bonus action once per long rest. So straight away we're getting a little bit of a damage bump. 1d4 isn't huge, given that this is a feat. It maybe could have stood to be a d6, more in line with Hex or Hunter's Mark, but seeing as it's target agnostic to some degree, like Divine Favor, a d4 makes sense. Now, to point out here that you touch a weapon and infuse it, that means that it does not have to be a weapon you are using. If you're playing more of a support character, you can 100% say go up to the sharpshooter archer in your party and give their bow a little bit more damage. The real shame here is that this is only usable once per long rest. Ideally, we could have gone for once per short or long rest. As it stands, it's just a bit of a minor damage bump for the harder fights, or if you're running low on resources altogether. The other half of this is reactive resistance, and this is essentially most of absorb elements. When you take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that damage. Now this is only resistance to the damage that starts this reaction, prompts it. So it's basically exactly the same as absorb elements, except you don't get that bonus damage. That is going to chromatic infusion instead. Now you can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, because they want me to say proficiency bonus a lot, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So I've mentioned it a couple times already. I know it's not proficiency bonus. Absorb elements is really the theme here. It's as if they took that spell and then built an entire feat out of it. It's not a bad thing. It is overall a really useful feat, and it's something that I could see taking on, say, a fighter, or something like that. It's a good option for a barbarian, actually, as whilst they're raging, they wouldn't normally be able to benefit from absorb elements, but this in no way, shape, or form is a spell. So, a little bit weaker than I'd like, but at the same time, it's still very useful. Now, next up is not Gem Dragon, because that's not how these go in my head. Instead, we're going to skip down to Metallic Dragon. And this is based around Metallic Dragons being protectors, being the shepherds of the lesser, not winged folk, if you will. Our first benefit is Draconic Healing, and you are going to learn the Cure Wounds spell, which means that if you have spellcasting or spell slots from somewhere else, you can cast it. And you can cast it for free once per long rest. The casting stat for it is Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma, your choice, and you choose when you take the feat. This is a very minor benefit. Cure Wounds once per day at first level is not a great deal of healing. This is going to be great in Tier 1, and still remain useful in Tier 2, but then in Tier 3 and 4 it's going to age out very quickly to minor top-ups, or somebody's down and needs to be picked up. However, the Protective Wings does have a fair bit of scaling and is arguably the highlight of the feat. So this allows you to manifest protective wings that allows you to shield yourself and others. When you or another creature within 5 feet of you gets hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to manifest wings and protect you or them. You grant a bonus to the target's AC equal to your proficiency bonus against that attack roll, potentially causing it to miss, and you can use this a number of times equal to your, you guessed it, proficiency bonus per long rest. This is kind of like a weaker shareable shield, and that's nice. Now, it's only going to be against a single attack, like Defensive Duelist. However, it is a scaling amount. What really makes this feat worth it or not is table dependent. Does your DM roll in the open? Do they tell you what their roll was? Or do they just say that you got hit? If you don't know what the actual roll was, if you don't know if a +2, a +3, so on, is going to make a difference, then this is a much riskier feat. But if you play rolling in the open, which I believe is fairly common on VTTs like Roll20, then this is actually a really useful, I would say almost a tanking feat. This would be great on somebody that takes Sentinel. It can add a lot more protection to those fighters, barbarians, paladins that are getting up in the front lines, maybe working in teams of 2. But to get the most out of this feat, you really do want to keep yourself with some allies, though preferably not if there's somebody with Fireball on the other side. And finally, Gem. Now, the gift of the Gem Dragon is the half feat, which we have to bear in mind, and it allows you to increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1 to a maximum of 20, and it gives you something along the lines of a psionic version of Hellish Rebuke. Now, when you take damage from a creature that's within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to lash out with telekinetic energy. The creature must make a strength saving throw, and that DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus. Your ability modifier, that is increased by this, so if you increase your charisma, it's 8 plus proficiency plus your charisma modifier. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 force damage and is pushed up to 10 feet away from you. And on a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. And you can use this, you guessed it, proficiency times per long rest. So this is a really great retributive reaction. It's right up there with Hellish Rebuke. It's arguably better as it's not fire damage. This is pretty solid, and I think this is going to be really great for squishies, casters, or ranged users, or sharpshooters and the like, that want to keep people away from them. If you're thinking of playing something like a battlesmith or armorer, some variety of hexblade, or probably hexblade multiclass, then this can be a great way to bump up the stat that you're building your sadness around, while still giving you a very valid defense. Pushing them 10 feet away from you, if they've had to move to get to you to begin with, means that there's a good chance that they might not actually be able to close that gap again on their turn, and let you get away. So this is overall a really solid feat, as long as you have a need for that mental boost. If your primary stat is physical, and you don't really need a mental stat as much, then I would really not prioritize this feat. The half bump is really an integral part of why you want to take this. So overall, I think these feats are, it's a good balance of different abilities. I think each one represents the dragon fairly well that they're associated with. I think the Metallic Dragon could use a little bit more healing. Perhaps if they allowed you to cast... not perhaps cast Cure Wounds at a proficiency bonus times per day, that'd be a bit much. But perhaps if they allowed you to cast it at 2nd level, that'd be more significant. And I ideally would have liked if the Gift of the Chromatic Dragon either had a slightly larger die, or if it allowed you to use it once per short rest too. Overall though, this is a really solid addition to the feats in the game, but that's just what I think. What do you think about the new Draconic Feats in Fizban's? Let us know in the comments section down below, And whilst you're down there, hit that like button if you like this video. If you want more Fizbans and 5e content, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you'd like to take part in our community, then join our Discord. There will be a link to it in the description. If you're a budding artist and would like some of your art featured on the channel, then feel free to email us. That is also down in the description below. But until next time, I've been Paul, and I will see you next time at the Forge.